Week 1. Reading wisely. The youngster who reads voraciously, though indiscriminately, does not necessarily gain in wisdom over the teenager who is more selective in his reading choices. A young man who has read the life story of every eminent athlete of the 20th century, or a co-ed who has steeped herself in every social protest novel she can get her hands on, may very well be learning all there is to know in a very limited area. But books are replete with so many wonders that it is often discouraging to see bright young people limit their own experiences. Solving the servant problem. The worlds of science fiction abound with wonders. Yet modern technology progresses so rapidly that what may be today's wild dream may be next year's kitchen appliance. A British scientist has prognosticated that within 10 years, every suburban matron will have her own robot servant. One task this domesticated automaton will not have to contend with will be scouring the oven, because even today, the newest ranges can be programmed to reduce their own baked-on grime to easily disposed of ashes. It's a man's world. How paradoxical that the world's greatest chefs have all been men. Cooking would clearly seem to be a field that lies exclusively within women's realm, yet the annals of cookery are replete with masculine names. Brillat, Savarin, Ritz, Diat, Larousse. To compound the puzzle, there has rarely been a tinge of rumor or scandal casting doubts on the masculinity of these heroes of cuisine. How not to get your way. It is difficult to change someone's opinion by badgering him. The child who begs his mother to get off his back when she implores him for some assistance with the household drudgery may very well plead interminably for some special privilege when he wants something for himself. How paradoxical that neither is able to perceive that no one likes being nagged. Week 2. To the point. Calvin Coolidge, our 30th president, was named Silent Cal by reporters because of his laconic speech. One Sunday, after Mr. Coolidge had listened to an interminable sermon, a throng of newsmen gathered around him. An intrepid reporter accosted the chief executive. "Mr. President, we know that the sermon was on the topic of sin. What did the minister say?" "He was against it," the reticent Coolidge replied. "If I had the wings of an angel." Casting a furtive glance over his shoulder, the felon slipped out the main prison gate to be swallowed up in the British fog. A plethora of escapes from supposedly secure prisons embarrassed the hapless wardens. To compound their problems, the officials were badgered by irate citizens who accused the guards of accepting bribes from convicts whose motto was, "Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Dr. Jekyll, or Mr. Hyde." Under the pretext of being a surgeon, he gained entry to the hospital. When interviewed by the director, he had to fabricate a tale of his medical experience, but he was so adroit at lying that he got away with it. It was not until the phony doctor began to gesticulate wildly with his scalpel that a vigilant nurse was able to detect the fraud. In the annals of medical history, there have been a number of such cases. You've got to be a football expert. As an avid football fan, I try to see every game the Jets play. Whenever I can cajole my father into accompanying me, I try to do so. He has only a rudimentary knowledge of the game, and since I am steeped in it, I enjoy explaining its intricate details to him. It certainly does enhance your appreciation of football when you are aware of every nuance of the sport. Week 3. The pep talk. "If there's one thing I loathe," the coach said, "it's a quitter." He had good reason to reprimand us at halftime, because the scoreboard revealed that we were losing 45-20. Our lackluster performance indicated to him that we had forgotten the rudimentary aspects of basketball. His caustic remarks fired us up, however, and we dashed out, determined to wrest control of the game from our rivals. The handcuff is quicker than the eye. Slippery Eddie, the infamous pickpocket, was back at work, and every detective had to be especially vigilant. Eddie's technique was to jostle a victim toward a Confederate who would then slip the man's wallet out of his back pocket while Eddie was stammering an apology to the confused dupe. Within a week, the incipient crime wave came to an end when Slippery Eddie inadvertently chose the chief of police for his victim. Although Eddie loathes Sing Sing, it's his permanent address now. Courtroom drama. There was an ominous silence when the jittery defendant rose in court. He explained in a tremulous voice what had led him to repudiate his confession made at the police station on the night of the crime. The audience began to buzz excitedly until the judge demanded a cessation of the noise. Although the district attorney bristled with anger, the defendant kept insisting that his rights had been violated because he had not been told that he could see a lawyer before confessing. Call me by my right name. My cousin refers to himself as a sanitary engineer, a euphemism for garbage collector. There are any number of people who try to find more respectable or glamorous titles for the mundane jobs they hold. It may seem incongruous to call an undertaker a condolence counselor, or to refer to a taxi driver as a transportation expediter, but some prefer those titles. As a matter of fact, our butcher has stipulated that from now on he wants to be known as a meat coordinator. He became irate when I inadvertently called him Butch. Week 4. The Mullins, a KO victim. When the bell sounded, K.O. Mullins responded with alacrity. He sprang from his stool and charged across the ring, showing disdain for the champion's strength. Although this belligerent attitude impressed the referee, it failed to intimidate the champ. That intrepid battler laid the hapless Mullins low with an adroit feint and an uppercut. Mullins throws down the gauntlet. The pugnacious K.O. Mullins demanded a rematch. He took a full-page newspaper advertisement to promulgate his challenge. When the champ's manager saw the brash announcement, he accosted Mullins, who was surrounded by a throng of newsmen. The manager openly scoffed at Mullins and belittled his fighting ability. Mullins then lost his temper and fearlessly punched the manager, knocking him off of his crutches. Mullins forced to eat humble pie. The irate 80-year-old manager pressed charges against K.O. Mullins, suing him for assault. As tangible evidence of the attack, he pointed to a deep laceration over his eyebrow that had required 10 stitches. When the case was brought before the court, the judge castigated Mullins for the sordid incident. In addition to a costly financial settlement, Mullins was required to make a public apology to the octogenarian. The decline of Mullins. Mullins sought solace in whiskey. Once a highly respected aspirant for the lightweight crown, he now found himself associating with the dregs of Skid Row. He would work himself into an alcoholic frenzy in which he would trumpet scurrilous attacks on the champ, the old manager, and the judge. One avid fight fan attributed Mullins' absence from the ring to sickness, saying that he was recovering from a bad case of scotch. Week 5. Cheating. During my first weeks at the new school, I observed that cheating was rampant. I had always considered it rather inane to cheat on a test because of my code of ethics, and because so much was at stake. Apparently, the other students didn't concur. In fact, even the presence of a proctor did not intimidate them. Far from being a clandestine activity, the cheating was open and obvious. Cracking down. Mr. Dorsey, our new principal, determined to do something about the flagrant cheating at our high school. He issued bulletins and began to admonish those teachers who did not proctor alertly. Under duress, the faculty reported the names of the culprits. Several crib sheets were turned in as tangible evidence of the cheating. Mr. Dorsey's inexorable campaign against the wrongdoers seemed to be paying off. Star player is caught. The cheating scandal came to a head when Art Krause, our football captain, made the egregious mistake of getting caught cheating on a midterm exam. If Art were suspended for his part in that sordid affair, our chances for winning the city championship would go up in smoke. The distraught coach asked the principal to overlook Art's duplicity, but Mr. Dorsey replied in an acrimonious fashion that the players had been given a plethora of athletic instruction, but a paucity of moral guidance. Our Pyrrhic victory. Mr. Dorsey summoned a representative group of teachers and student leaders to his office in order to elicit their reactions to the suspension of the football captain. He told them that cheating was a pernicious disease that could not be tolerated at our school. He loathed having to discipline Art Krause so severely, but unless strict measures were taken, the student body would construe the incident as an open invitation to cheat with impunity. "We may lose a football game," the principal said, "but we can salvage our self-respect."